report to me, madam. Well, it suited my purpose to stay, for I was very hospitably entertained by the squire, who, except being rather too much addicted to lectures and psalm singing, is as pleasant an host as one could desire. Besides which, he was obliging enough to employ me to borrow money for him, and what I got or kept, you may be sure."
"I would willingly be spared the details of your knavery," said Mistress Nutter, somewhat impatiently.
"I am coming to an end," rejoined Demdike, "and then, perhaps, you may wish I had prolonged them. All the squire's secrets were committed to me, and I was fully aware of your concealment in the hall, but I could never ascertain precisely where you were lodged. I meant to carry you off, and only awaited the opportunity which presented itself to night."
"If you think to obtain money from me, you will find yourself mistaken," said Mistress Nutter. "I have parted with all my possessions."
"But to whom, madam?" cried Demdike, with a sinister smile. "To your daughter? And I'm sure she's too gentle, too tender hearted, to allow you to suffer when she can relieve you. You must get us a good round sum from her, or you will be detained here long. The dungeons are dark and unwholesome, and my band are apt to be harsh in their treatment of captives. They have found in the vault some instruments of torture belonging to old Blackburn, the freebooter, the efficacy of which, in an obstinate case, I fear they might be inclined to try. You now begin to see the drift of my discourse, madam, and understand the sort of men you have to deal with. Barbarous fellows, madam, inhuman dogs." And he laughed coarsely at his own jocularity.
"It may put an end to this discussion," said Mistress Nutter, firmly, "if I declare that no torture shall induce me to make any such demand from my daughter."
"You think, perhaps, I am jesting with you, madam," rejoined Demdike.
"Oh, no, I believe you capable of any atrocity," replied the lady. "You do not, either in feature or deeds, belie your parentage."
"Oh, say you so, madam?" cried Demdike. "You have a sharp tongue, I find. Courtesy is thrown away on you. What ho, lads! Kenyon and Lowton, take the lady down the vaults, and there let her have an hour for solitary reflection. She may change her mind in that time."
"Do not think it," cried Mistress Nutter, resolutely.
"If you continue obstinate, we will find means to move you," rejoined Demdike, in a taunting tone. "But what has she got beneath her arm? Give me the book. What's this? A Bible? A witch with a Bible? It should be a grimoire."
"Give it me back, I implore of you," shrieked the lady. "I shall be destroyed, soul and body, if I have it not with me."
"What! You are afraid the devil may carry you off without it? Ha! ha! ha!" roared Demdike. "Well, that would not suit my purpose at present. Here, take it. And now off with her, lads, without more ado." And as he spoke, a trap door was opened by one of the robbers, disclosing a flight of steps leading to the subterranean chambers, down which the miserable lady was dragged. Presently the two men reappeared, with a grim smile on their ruffianly countenances, and as they closed the trap door, one of them observed to the captain that they had chained her to a pillar by removing the band from the great skeleton, and passing it round her body. "You have done well, lads," replied Demdike, approvingly. "And now go on, all of you, and scour the hill top, and return in an hour, and we will decide upon what is to be done with this woman." The two men then joined the rest of their comrades outside, and the whole troop descended the steps, which were afterwards drawn up by Demdike. This done, the robber captain returned to the circular chamber, and for some time paced to and fro, revolving his dark schemes. He then paused, and placing his ear near the trap door, listened, but as no sound reached him, he sat down at the table, and soon grew so much absorbed as to be unconscious that a dark figure was creeping stealthily down the narrow staircase behind him. "I cannot get rid of Nicholas Assheton," he exclaimed at length. "I somehow fancy we shall meet again, and yet all should be over with him by this time." "Look round," thundered a voice behind him, Nicholas Assheton is not to be got rid of so easily." At this unexpected summons, Demdike started to his feet, and recoiled aghast as he saw what he took to be the ghost of the murdered squire standing before him. A second look, however, convinced him that it was no phantom he beheld, but a living man, armed for vengeance, and determined upon it. "Get a weapon, villain!" cried Nicholas, in tones of concentrated fury. "I do not wish to take unfair advantage even of thee." Without a word of reply, Demdike snatched a sword from the wall, and the next moment was engaged in deadly strife with the squire. They were well matched, for both were powerful men, both expert in the use of their weapons, and the combat might have been protracted and of doubtful issue, but for the irresistible fury of Nicholas, who assaulted his adversary with such vigour and determination that he speedily drove him against the wall, where the latter made an attempt to seize a petronel hanging beside him, but his purpose being divined, he received a thrust through the arm, and dropping his blade, lay at the squire's mercy. Nicholas shortened his sword, but forbore to strike. Seizing his enemy by the throat, he hurled him to the ground, and planting his knee on his chest, called out, "What ho, Nance!" "Nance!" exclaimed Demdike. "Then it was that mischievous jade who brought you here?" "Ay," replied the squire, as the young woman came quickly down the steps, "and I refused her aid in the conflict because I felt certain of mastering thee, and because I would not take odds even against such a treacherous villain as thou art." "Better despatch him, squire," said Nance. "He may do you a mischief yet." "No, no," replied Nicholas. "He is unworthy of a gentleman's sword. Besides, I have sworn to hang him, and I will keep my word. Go down into the vaults and liberate Mistress Nutter while I bind him, for we must take him with us. To morrow he shall lie in Lancaster Castle with his kinsfolk." "That remains to be seen," muttered Demdike. "Be on your guard, squire," cried Nance, as she lifted a small lamp and raised the trap door. With this caution she descended to the vaults, while Nicholas, looking about for a thong, and perceiving a rope dangling down the wall near him, he seized it, drawing it with some force towards him. A sudden sound reached his ears. Clang! clang! He had rung the alarm bell violently. Clang! 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 Would it never stop? Taking advantage of his surprise and consternation, Demdike got away from under him, sprang to his feet, and rushing to the doorway, instantly let fall the steps, roaring out "Treason! To the rescue, my men! To the rescue!" His cries were immediately answered from without, and it was evident from the tumult that the whole of the band were hurrying to his assistance. Not a moment was to be lost by the squire. Plunging through the trap door, he closed it after him, and bolted it underneath at the very moment the robbers entered the chamber. Demdike's rage at finding him gone was increased, when all the combined efforts of his men failed in forcing open the trap door. "Take hatchets and hew it open," he cried. "We must have them. I've heard there is a secret outlet below, and though I've never been able to discover it, it may be known to Nance. I'll go outside and watch. If you hear me whistle, come forth instant." And rushing forth, he was making the circuit of the tower, and examining some bushes at its base, when his throat was suddenly seized by a dog, and before he could even utter an exclamation, much less sound his whistle or use his arms, he was grappled by the old huntsman, and dragged off to a considerable distance, the dog still clinging to his throat. Meanwhile, Nicholas had hurried down into the vaults, where he found Nance sustaining Mistress Nutter, who was half fainting, and, hastily explaining what had occurred, she consigned the lady to him, and then led the way through the central range of pillars, and past the ebon image, until she approached the wall, when, holding up the lamp, she revealed a black marble slab between the statues of Blackburn and Isole. Pressing against it, the slab moved on one side, and disclosed a flight of steps. "Go up there," cried Nance to the squire, "and when you get to the top you'll find another stone with a knob in it. You canna miss it. Go on." "But you," cried the squire, "will you not come with us?" "I'm come presently," replied Nance, with a strange smile. "I ha' summat to do first. That cunning fox Demdike has set a trap for himself and all his followers, and it's for me to catch 'em." Wait for me about 100 yards from t' tower. No nearer, you onderstand.